Hello Internet, it's time for another Wednesday's serial. And it's Comic Crisis 2012! I didn't get, any of my comics this week. There's a comic shortage! Some supervillain must be behind this and he must be stopped. But either way, I don't really have much to review right now, so I thought I'd talk about a couple other things real quick. The first thing is that lately a lot of people have been kind of down on their luck and kind of not so happy with their stacks, and there's been a bit more of this people wanting to do negative reviews but having a lot of apprehension about it, and I wanted to really quick kind of make an argument for a negative comic review. So I understand why people want to be positive and they want to be up. I mean, we're all fans and we want to like what we're reading. For the most part, you should be. I mean, we're not official reviewers. People aren't sending stuff to us and then we're giving it an appraisal. We're trying to buy what we like and then kind of generally say what we like about it. But when something happens and we're not a fan or we're not going to pick it up anymore, part of the reason of putting this all out is to say, I was liking this, now I'm not. But the important thing, and I think the important way to justify it, is to give the why. And if you're having trouble coming up with a why, it might just be a taste change. It might just be, honestly, there's a slight quality drop and it's not your thing anymore. So it sucks, but it happens. And the important thing then is to maybe try a couple new books, try something new, mix it up. I know I've had to do it. I'm kind of in the state of doing it now. I said I was looking at Journey into Mystery as a drop title, but in one issue it kind of revitalized itself. I'm really noticing the book really shines when it's allowed to be on its own. When it's tied to an event, it kind of struggles and wanders a little bit, and it spent the first year being tied to Fear itself, which kind of got it off on some shaky footing, but once it was able to fly on its own, it really soared, and it was really interesting to see all these high-stake things going on with our main character being a non-combatant. It's a really intriguing idea from that aspect alone, and I'm going to stick with it if nothing else because I really appreciate that angle. But see, I'm spinning around again to the positive with the why. Just hear some people, and they do say why they don't like the comics, but they don't want to give a negative review, and I understand that feeling as well. You don't want to be a cynic. But as long as you're trying to find the positive and you're looking at it, and you're pointing out positives and negatives in a book, that's another thing too. Even if you're a fan of the book, sometimes there's a couple things that you're not so hot on. Like for a while, Uncanny X-Force, when Tuccini was on art, despite working well with Remender on Last Days of American Crime, when he was doing a superhero book, it really didn't work. I was confused at times to who characters were. They were using a lot of C-list characters that look similar to one another as the whole Captain Britain pantheon. And I really had struggled to make heads or tails of it, whereas I wanted to kind of look at the art and do more. It honestly was muddy and ugly, and I really didn't want to look at it, so I didn't. And I kind of went through the comic more quickly than I should, and the entire arc suffered because of the art. Not because he's a bad artist, but because it's a terrible fit. He's great for, that crime thing where, you have some grizzled guy and he's allowed to decide that another character's, a younger girl, and he's allows to do some things to make the characters much more distinct, given that his style isn't so much in the detail, but actually creates a very interesting movement, even in a dialogue scene. And so, and that's not really his thing. But again, that's a why, and a why really trying to find the positive. I've done a very negative review before, and that was when I reviewed Marine Man. I don't want to link it or bring it up because it is me really hating the book, but what it came down to was the art was trying to be a stock look that the artist just kind of failed at and created some awkward anatomy that even for a cartoon situation was just boggling and looked terrible. It wasn't actually technically a story. There was no conflict, there was no issues, and part of the reason for that is because the characters were so dry and stale and perfect in every way that there's no way for, not only for you to relate or try to be drawn to, but no interest, and therefore, there's no dialogue between the characters. They just exposited information at each other. It was a mess on every conceivable level, and I went into far more detail at the time because I just read it, and part of me wants to believe that review helped take away sales that got that book off the shelves, because I'd like to think I did a little something positive for the community. It was about the worst thing I've ever read, and that is a negative review, and I feel justified in not liking that comic because I'm able to point at aspects that I see aren't working, why they're not working, whereas I didn't actually, scan in the pages and like point here or there. If you were even to flip through the comic, you'd clearly see what I was getting at. Now, on the flip side of all that, though, when I did that very negative review, I was more under the influence of different kind of comics journalism, if you will. And the people who I was dealing with heavily at the time were very big on ripping down comics, because when they ripped down comics, they receive more views. And for that, they're doing a show and they want to do what the people like. And I can certainly understand that. And so what ended up happening is they weren't comfortable necessarily ripping more independent things or whatnot, because people are trying to get their careers going. They don't want to just squash it or anything. But what ended up happening was they were just reading Bendis and sometimes Fraction books from Marvel to just rip them to shreds, saying, I used to be a fan of Bendis, and then once in a blue moon they'd more or less seemingly decide to like a Bendis comic to be like, see, this is a good one. We'll say it's good if it is good, but and after a while, and after stepping back from a while, I saw really how distasteful that was. If you're kind of in it the way the community here on YouTube is, every week looking at it and watching other reviews and being very interested not only in comics but what other people think of comics, and trying. Honestly, if you love the medium, why would you pick out the samples that you hate to try to talk about every week? Why wouldn't you try something new and all that and say, this comic's great, it could be better if, maybe something more like that? I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is, if you love your pile and all that, and there's a stinker in there, and sometimes there are some just off issues or whatnot, letting people know, because if people are really interested, they want to know if something's worth it, and like, this is not where to go, especially if you want to find out if this series is for you, you should be holding up the best, or at least the average good, to say like, yeah, check this out, instead of being like, if you're into, let's say Daredevil is the sticker next month, don't read Daredevil this month, check out anything before, and you'll come in and maybe you can appreciate something else in this issue. Like, there's a reason for negative reviews, so blah. Now for a couple more positive things. First off is this. Okay, the glare's terrible, and I don't know how to really fix that since I'm filming at night and I can't get daylight. But I got this City at War cover poster framed, and I should be hanging up on the wall soon. So, I'm really excited about that. It's the first time I've ever bothered to frame something. On a note, if you're ever looking to get something framed, just try to find a regular frame. My girlfriend found a coupon for a custom framing that was like 60% off, and we're like, sweet, that should make it affordable, right? No, even with the coupon, it was like $100. What? I don't know. Maybe there's something to it that I just don't get, but wow. Anyways, yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's like the first time I've done anything like this. All the posters you've seen around before I've gotten for like $2 to $3 on sale and just sticky bumped it up on the wall. So Denver Comic-Con is this weekend. If you're going, let me know. Reply here, tweet me at magicalmatt42, or you could actually just tweet the Denver Comic-Con Twitter, because I run it. Yeah, let me know. That would be awesome to see you there if you watch this in any way, and that would be really cool. Plus, I was supposed to be a lot more busy this weekend than I was going to be. Again, mixed story on that. But that got me thinking about next year, and if anyone's stateside, I would love to meet up at a convention. Maybe if we all talked about it, a year in advance, we could plan to maybe go to a certain con. Certainly, I would not say anything like San Diego. Probably not even C2E2, though that seems possible, but it's kind of growing pretty fast. But a slightly smaller con. I mean, certainly something we all want to go to, but maybe something that you'd really have to be a comic fan to have heard of would be cool. Also, ticket prices cheaper, and also if we plan ahead, we could probably get plane tickets cheaper and that whole deal. It'd be really cool, I think, if we could kind of try to maybe get some of us YouTube people to meet up. That'd be really cool. And as much as I'd love to meet a lot of the British folk and all that, me and you, plane tickets too much across the seas, so it kind of sucks. Maybe if anyone has any bright ideas, we could work something out. I'd definitely be down to hear about it. So, yeah. So just a few random thoughts I had that I wanted to put out there, and especially because I have a really dead comic week and I wanted to make a video regardless. Here it is. Certainly I wanted to do some stuff, but there's no way I'm going to do it this weekend because con. But I might be trying to interview some locals, maybe even get a quick interview with some of the actual guests you might have heard of real quick. Though I'm terrible at interviews if you've watched any of the prior ones I've done. Working on it though. So yeah, if any of you guys have questions that you might want me to throw at Gail Simone or the guy who created The Crow, Mike Allred's gonna be there. Zach Howard, the artist of The Cape. There's Jason Aaron. Those are the ones that are coming to my head. But definitely, if you guys look it up and have any questions, I will definitely try to ask them if possible and report back. Yeah, so peace out. Have a great comic week. Like, comment, subscribe. Death threats below. I'll see you guys later.